up? It is Pedersen_40 here, bringing you part 2 of our very first what-if scenario. If you guys haven't watched the first one, it was a crazy one. We simmed the first 4 years after 1987. And so as you can see at the top left here, it's 1991. And it got crazy. The Flames won the first 2 championships, and then the Oilers beat out the Penguins for the final 2. The Penguins made the finals 3 straight years and yet have not won a championship yet, which is kind of unfortunate for them. And then Montreal is the other team who has done really well in this, led by Patrick Roy in net. And so the what-if scenario was, what if Wayne Gretzky never got traded by the Oilers? So how many championships would he win? Like, does he break more records? You know, that kind of thing. And so as you can see at the top here, I am unemployed, and so I'm just a bystander. I don't control them. So let's look at the Oilers roster here and see just how much they've changed. From what I can remember, they haven't changed really at all, honestly. Yeah, because let me start by ability here. You got Gretzky, Messier, Curry, Fier, McTavish, who somehow in this game is like crazy good. Andy Moog, Glenn Anderson, Esa Tikkanen, Kevin Lau. And those core guys, it's like, and even, look, Charlie Huddy. But those are the core guys that make the team tick still. And the only major loss from that, if you noticed, was Paul Coffey. And then the other one, if you really thought of him as like a major, like, really good type of player, was Dale Hunter, because he retired. Paul Coffey, ironically, was traded to Pittsburgh again by the Oilers. So, but let's not worry about him. So, let's look at Gretzky here. So, at the end of the last video, we tried to look at his accomplishments and could not find any. I did not know you could look at this from here, but there's the line chemistry he has. So, the expected ones with, like, Gary Curry and Esa Tikkanen, because that's who we always played with. So scouting, there's no info. History. So we won the Hart Trophy, the Art Ross, the 10 Lindsay, first time All-Star Center championship, and yeah, so he's been doing pretty well the past few years. His contract expires in 2 years when he'll be 32, and he has 520. He has $520,000 currently, like that's what he's earning. So in terms of points, let's look at this. So these are his career stats. So as you can see, when he started his career, he had 110, which that was the year where he tied for the Art Ross Trophy, but Marcel Dion got more goals, so that's why it was given to Dion. So the past 4 years, the ones that I've simmed, he's got 204 points, 178 points, 103 points, and 147 points. So obviously really good. In total in his career, he has 2,152 points in 930 games. And so so that's in the NHL. So now that we've looked at that, let's sim to the last day here. Okay, so it simmed right past that, and I was not able to stop it, so we won't get to see the expansion draft. That's unfortunate. However, Hartford traded Ulf Samuelsson. He's most famous for his time with the Penguins, for Jan Lekkinen. So it sounds like Toronto won this deal. So that's good. Mike Foligno was also traded by Washington for Pete Peters. And then D. LaPointe, Tony Esposito, Carl Venice, and Butch Dorian get the Call from Hall. And then here's the last trade quickly here. So pretty good players there. I feel like Chicago wins that deal, but I guess it's based on positional stuff. So this is the start of the regular season here. So let's look quickly early on here at the standings. So after 3 to 6 games, Edmonton is dead last. They have not won a game. Strengths, as you can see, is goaltending, left wing, center, and right wing, and weaknesses are defense, and their outlook is still win now. So I'll send them to the trade deadline here, and we'll see how they do. Okay, guys, so we are at the trade deadline, and I was looking through my mail, and Gary Curry has officially reached 500 goals in the NHL. So that's, good for him. And it looks like none other than, it looks like Gary Curry actually assisted on a Gretzky goal as well in that game. It's fitting. So that goal, it was at 10:20 of the first period. It made the game 2-2. And it was by Curry, assisted by Glenn Anderson and Kevin Dahl. So that's pretty cool. Now I'll just show you the standings. At the start of the year, Edmonton was doing really bad. They had a losing record until pretty recently. Now they're starting to really gain traction, and they're only behind Calgary in their division and 4th in the league. So these are the usual suspects. In this series, these have been the 4 best teams in the NHL. It's probably Edmonton, then Calgary, then Pittsburgh, and then Montreal. And then Washington's definitely up there as well. As usual, Vancouver is at the bottom, and San Jose is as well. So actually, let's look at their team, considering they're an expansion team this year. So how good is their team? Well, they got Scott Niedermayer in the draft. That's good. They got Kirk McLean and Glenn Healy in the expansion draft. They got Ken Linesman. I wonder who they got from Edmonton. I'll quickly try to find out here. Okay, guys, so it looks like there's no one there on their team from Edmonton. They're 11-58-4 in the standings, so 26 points. Yeah, so they're doing pretty bad. All right, I'll see you guys right before the playoffs. Okay, sorry guys, I simmed a little too far, and we're almost at the end of the first round for everyone except Quebec and Boston, who are tied 3-3. So Montreal swept the Sabres. Pittsburgh beat the Islanders in 5. So let's quickly look at the Islanders here. Capitals beat the Devils in 6. Red Wings took out the Minnesota North Stars in 6 as well. Blues took out Toronto in 6. Winnipeg took out Calgary in 6, and Edmonton took out LA in 5. So it will be Edmonton versus the Jets in the second round, Blues versus Red Wings, Capitals versus Penguins, and then Montreal versus the winner of Quebec and Boston. So I will go day by day here to make sure that I finish the second round and not go over it. Okay, guys, so we are not quite at the end of the second round, but Edmonton was the first to finish theirs out. They swept the Jets in, 4 games. Blues are up 3-1 on Detroit. Washington's up 3-1 on Pittsburgh. And Quebec and Montreal are tied 2-2. So we got a couple of rivalries there, Washington and Pittsburgh, and Quebec and Montreal. So I'll see you guys right before the conference final. Okay, guys, so it's the Blues beat Detroit in 7. The Capitals took out Pittsburgh in 5, and Quebec took their series in 7. So Washington, I simmed a game of each round. St. Louis is beating Edmonton 1-0, and the Capitals are beating Quebec 1-0. So the major suspects, Pittsburgh, Calgary, and Montreal are out, with the exception of Edmonton. So let's see how they do. Alright guys, so good news, the Capitals took out Quebec in 6, but the actual good news is the Oilers took out St. Louis in 6, so it will be Edmonton versus Washington in the Stanley Cup final. Edmonton is to the Cup final for the 3rd straight year, so let's see how well they do. So first game, Edmonton is up 1-0, that's good. Edmonton is up 2-0. Edmonton is up 3-0. 1 game away from the 3rd straight Stanley Cup. Something Edmonton was never able to do in the Gretzky era. Alright, Edmonton's up 3-1. And there you have it, folks. Edmonton has won their 3rd straight Stanley Cup, taking out Washington in 5 games. Edmonton is the reigning champion of the NHL again. So let's look at their quest to the Cup quickly here. They took out LA in 5, swept the Jets, took out St. Louis in 6, and took out Washington in 5. So their major competition seemed to be the Blues. In total, they only lost 4 games on their quest for the Cup. So they definitely were determined. Although, that wasn't as good as a few years ago in this game when Calgary did not lose. They swept the Oilers, I think it was the Kings, and then a couple other teams to win the Cup that year. So that was pretty cool. Alright, so let's move on here. So quickly here, let's do the awards and such. So Lemieux is the star center. Steve Yzerman is the other center. So Gretzky did not make this year's team. The only guy there are two guys on the Oilers who did. One was Grant Fuhr, who had outstanding numbers for the 80s. 2.76 goals against average, .903 save percentage, 40 wins. And then Yeri Curry was the other guy to make it on the right wing on the second team for 86 points in 80 games. So let's quickly go through here. Gretzky got the Conn Smythe. I wish I could see his numbers in the playoffs, but we cannot. But he gets the Conn Smythe. Hart Trophy goes to Lemieux. Calder Trophy goes to Zdeno Seiger. Lou Lamoriello, GM of the Year. Dave Hannon takes home the Selke. Rocco Richard goes to Lemieux. Art Ross Trophy goes to Lemieux. Mark Messier gets the plus-minus award. The Saving Grace, which is the best save percentage award, goes to Brian Hayward. Jennings Trophy goes to Patrick Roy. Andrew Castles wins the Lady Byng. Bill Masterton goes to Eddie Olchuk. Kevin Loud gets the Mark Messier Leadership Award. Mary Lemieux gets the Ted Lindsay, so he's cleaning up. Pierre Creamer gets the Jack Adams Award because he was coaching the Penguins. Paul Coffey gets the Norris Trophy. He got 82 points in 72 games on Pittsburgh. And then Grant Fuhr got the Vezina. So let's sim to... Actually, no. Quickly, we have to look at the final stats here of the players. Okay, so Lemieux led in goals. Gretzky was fourth with 55. Lemieux led in assists. And Gretzky was third with 98. I wonder who was first in points. So Lemieux gets 187 points. Gretzky finishes second with 153. Lemieux gets an even 500 shots. Gretzky sits on that stat. Plus-minus goes to Messier with Gretzky second. Face-off percentage goes to Mike Rickey. Gretzky is nowhere to be found. Shots blocked. Gretzky's not going to be on there. Penalty minutes. Gretzky shouldn't be on here. Mark Messier is, though. 174. Power play goals. Mark Messier sits. Lemieux second. Gretzky there is tied for 10th, or tied for 11th with 23. Shorthanded goals, he leads with 4. So he seems to be at the top, close to the top here in most stats, but ultimately falls to usually Lemieux. Because Lemieux's just starting to hit his prime. He's 26. Gretzky's 31 now, or almost 31 anyway. Grant Fuhr. He's second in wins, one behind Mike Vernon. He's not going to be on losses or OT losses or goals against. Goals against average, Grant Fuhr's 5th. Saves, he's way down there, 1,538. Save percentage, he is 10th, or tied for 10th, yes. Shutouts, he leads with 8. He's 9th in games played with 63. And then minutes played, he's 7th. So those are the stats. Quickly look at team attendance just because this is a team that's won 3 straight cups. They are 5th in attendance behind Montreal, New York, Calgary, and Detroit. Where's Toronto on there? There's Toronto. All right, so let's get to the last day here. Okay, so here are the historical notes for 92-93. The Senators and the Lightning are joining the NHL. Some major players who are coming in this year are Chris Pronger, Todd Bertuzzi, Paul Correa, Saku Koivu, Brian McCabe, Martin St. Louis, and Timo Timonen. So that's pretty cool. Let's get to... there's more expansion, but I'll look at the Lightning and Senators later. Let's get to opening night, and then we'll look at the Oilers roster, Lightning's roster, and Senators roster. Okay, guys, so actually on the Hall of Fame front, Dean Prentice gets in, Wayne Cashman, Ivan Boldarev, and the guy I wanted to get in, Ken Hodge. Just because, he's really the only good guy left that has not gotten in. So I'm hoping better guys come of a liability pretty soon. But for now, let's just look at the rosters. Yeah, let's look at the rosters. So Mario Lemieux in the first game of the year looks like he has 500 goals. That's cool. He's 26 and already has 500. No big deal. All right, so let's look at the Oilers roster first here. So roster, sort by ability. So Gretzky, who's already hurt, is still the leader. He's 31 now. He got an assist in the first game. Messi, Curry, Grant Fier, McTavish, Glenn Anderson, Andy Moog, Esa Tikkanen, Kevin Lau really dropped, but all those guys are still there. So looks like basically the same team to me. So let's look at the Lightning here. They got Hugh Crump is their best player, followed by Dave Babachik, Chris Thierry, who should be a backup as their starter. So no, they don't look like they're going to play good, but you never know. And then the other expansion team is the Senators. So let's see how well they did. Their best player is Alexei Yashin. They actually got Brian Trottier. It's kind of cool. And then they got a few other decent players, but if I had to guess, I'd say the Lightning might play slightly better. Yashin's like the best player out of the three teams, but he can't do it by himself. So yeah, I don't predict either of them doing well, but I think the Lightning will probably do better. So let's see if I'm right. I'll see you guys at the trade deadline. And a cool trade just went down here, guys. Less than a month away from the trade deadline. We got Bernie Nicholas being traded to, let's see here, to the Canucks for Sami Kapanen. I think this deal probably benefits LA more unless Vancouver's going into contender mode, but no, their outlook looks to be rebuild. And the Kings are balanced, so I'm not really sure what those teams are doing. So I'll just sim another month here or so, guys, and then we'll go to the trade deadline. Okay, guys, so we are at the trade deadline here. It's been pretty entertaining watching the Oilers and Flames duke it out here for the division lead. I haven't seen them be separated more than like 4 points since the start of the year. So it's pretty cool to see that after all this time, both of them are still equally as good as they were when I took over about 5 years ago. Yeah, 5 years ago. So Pittsburgh is first in the league. Maybe this is finally the year where they can take a championship. Capitals are second. They're another contender. Oilers still are third now. Detroit's up there. Quebec, Calgary has fallen to 7th. And Montreal has fallen to 10th. And then, yeah, I was right. Tampa Bay is doing better than Ottawa by 9 points. But San Jose is still last. And then the Flyers, and then the Canucks, and then surprisingly the Jets are down here, even though their outlook is win now. But yeah, so that's what's going on there. So let's go to the Stanley Cup Playoffs, and then I'll show you the bracket. All right, guys, I am not very good at this. I did it again. Sorry about that. So we got so in the first round, the Bruins faced the Canadiens and won. The Sabres took on Quebec and won in 7. Pittsburgh swept the Islanders. Capitals beat New Jersey in 6. Minnesota beat Detroit in 7. St. Louis beat Toronto in 5. Edmonton beat Winnipeg in 6. And LA beat Calgary in 7. And then in the second round, Sabres are beating Boston 2-1. Pittsburgh has almost swept Washington. The Blues are up 2-1 on Minnesota, and Edmonton is up 2-1 on LA. So, actually, let's look at the lead standings here quickly. So, Pittsburgh finished first with 121. 18 points behind them was Boston with 103, and then Edmonton was 1 point behind them with 102. Washington was 1 point behind them with 101, and Detroit was 1 point behind them with 100, and then Calgary was 1 point behind them with 99. So you can see how close the bracket was. Easily, Edmonton could have been, let's see here, about 8th where LA is. But they finished 3rd in a really tight race here. So you can see there are a lot of good teams. And Winnipeg made the playoffs despite being out of the top 16. So they must have been in a pretty weak division. And then the final standings for the expansion teams were Tampa Bay got 50 compared to Ottawa's 42. So I was right, Tampa Bay was better. And then San Jose is still last with 38. They should be getting a high draft pick. And look at this. Their outlook is win now. That's funny. All right. Alright, so I'll be a little more careful now, and I'll just go to the end of the second round. Okay, so I accidentally pressed the continue button, and it just went ahead. So the Sabres took out Boston in 7, Pittsburgh swept Washington, the Blues took out Minnesota in 6, the Kings took out Edmonton in 6, unfortunately, so their cup streak is over. The Blues took out LA in 6, and Pittsburgh and Buffalo are tied 3-3. So now that Edmonton's out, I'm really hoping Pittsburgh actually gets a chance at a cup, because then Marilyn Mew can actually say he has one. In real life, he won 2 by now, but he doesn't have one yet. So I know I said it before, but I'm going to be careful now. Okay, guys, so good news. Considering we're cheering for the Penguins, it is good news. Pittsburgh took out Buffalo in 7, and St. Louis took out LA in 6, so they will be facing each other for the Stanley Cup Championship. So let's just sim a week. Alright, so Pittsburgh took out St. Louis, and they have finally won a championship. So congrats to them. If Edmonton wouldn't win it, I definitely would have wanted Pittsburgh too. So I'm glad that they got it. So let's look at the awards now. So Lemieux got the Hart Trophy win. Gretzky was actually voted for this, but obviously did not win it. Patrick Roy got the Vezina for Montreal. Paul Coffey wins the Norris again. What is he doing? Oh, he got 111 points. Jeez. But what is he doing? Hasn't he won like 5 Norris trophies or something? All right, Calder went to Alexei Yashin, the rookie on Ottawa. He got 71 points in 76 games. That's pretty good. Jerry Meenan, the Buffalo Sabres GM, won GM of the Year. Selke went to Craig McTavish of the Oilers. Marilyn Mew wins the Rocket Richard. Marilyn Mew gets the Art Ross Trophy. So Marilyn Mew won the Art Ross Trophy. Okay, so Marilyn Mew won the Art Ross Trophy. Marilyn Mew won the Plus Minus Award. Glenn Healy of the San Jose Sharks got the leading save percentage, surprisingly, considering they were the worst team in the league. Frank Pietrangelo won the Jennings Trophy. Ray Shepard won the Lady Byng. Chris Chilias, Bill Masterton. Dave Taylor, Mark Messier Leadership Award. Marilyn Mew, Ted Lindsay. Pierre Creamer, Jack Adams. The All-Stars for this year were Mark Messier, left wing for the Oilers. Gretzky got the second team, and Grant Fuhr got gold. Conn Smythe winner was Marilyn Mew. Okay, guys, so we have the 1993-94 historical notes for this year. The Panthers are joining the NHL. The Ducks are joining the NHL. The North Stars relocated to Dallas and changed their name to the Stars. And then some notable players here. We got Patrick Elias, Milan Hajduk, and Evgeny Nabokov. So, again, that's always cool to see. So we are entering our 3rd year. Edmonton has won 1 championship so far in this video, so we're about halfway through. So let's look at the Oilers again for this year, so by ability. Gretzky's gone? Gretzky's gone. What? That's not... What? We have to look up Wayne Gretzky, because we have to follow his career. It's not just the Oilers. Hold on. I'll try to find him. Alright. Okay, so good news, he's still an Oiler. I guess he didn't show up on the roster due to being injured, so he's on the injury list for 1 to 2 months. So that'll put a dent in his play. But what can he do? Actually, no. He'll probably be healthy by then, because it's only July 1st. So he'll be alright by opening night, and then we'll relook at the roster here, see if Edmonton trades anyone or signs anyone. Because they want to get that cup back, you know? Like, that's what they want. Okay, so Hockey Hall of Fame honored D. LaFleur, Borg Salming. They got Dallas Smith for this year. And then Bill Hage. I voted for Lanny McDonald, but it looks like that didn't happen. And then Bill Ranford is on waivers now. He's still pretty good, but it'll be interesting to see who signs him. So let's check out the new expansion teams. So we got the Anaheim Mighty Ducks. So let's look at their roster. So they got Andy Moog and Mike Richter. So they got Andy Moog from Edmonton. So Edmonton lost Andy Moog in the expansion thing. So that's that's a major change as well. So they don't really have a good backup. So Marty Mcsorley, he wasn't on Edmonton when they picked him up. He was on Winnipeg, as you can see. But you know, he used to play for Edmonton. Mike Richter is their best player. They picked up a pretty good player in free agency, considering it's an expansion, or not free agency, expansion. Paul Correa was picked up in the draft, and then Tony Granado. So overall, not good. Like, they won't be good, but they'll be pretty good considering they're an expansion team. Okay, so the other expansion team is the Florida Panthers. They picked up Glenn Healy and Jean Casey. So goaltending, as usual, is pretty good for expansion teams. In terms of potential, their best guy is Robert Cron, who's 26, so no, not the greatest in potential. Let's look at the Stars lineup, considering they changed their name. I know it's not going to be a different roster. It's not a great one either. I mean, Brindamore has got potential. Burry also has potential. Neil Broten's older now, but Matthew Schneider is also there. So overall, this is a team that has lots of potential to be really good in a few years. Right now, I don't see them winning a championship, but you know, you never know. Okay, guys, so we are at the trade deadline. Edmonton is all the way down to 12th. Now goaltending's a weakness since Andy Mood left. And you can see that with goals for and goals against here, you can see it at the bottom right of their team profile. They only have 8 more goals than goals against. And in their division in particular, they're really struggling. They're 4th. And they're not really showing much chances of catching up here. 12 points behind Vancouver. So that's unfortunate. So let's go to the Stanley Cup Playoffs, and then we will look at the final league standings. We'll look at Gretzky's stats, and then we'll look at the playoff bracket. Okay, guys, so here we are at the standings, and I am not absolutely positive Edmonton made it to the playoffs. They finished 4th in their division, 16 points behind LA, and Vancouver finished 1st. This is the first time they've been good in this entire series. And then let's look at the league here, and they finished 13th. So not as good as they normally do. Normally they're like way up here, but it looks like most of the old guard are falling here. Pittsburgh's down to 5th, Calgary's down to 6th, LA's 7th, St. Louis and Montreal are 10th and 11th respectively, and Washington's down to 15. So the old guard seem to be falling down, and a new one led by New York, led by the Rangers, the Red Wings, and the Bruins and the Canucks, seem to be starting to take over here. So that's not good for the Oilers, obviously. But so let's look at the stats, and then we'll see if Edmonton even made it to the playoffs. They're in the top 16, but I think they might base it off of division, in which case they probably wouldn't make it. So in goals, Lemieux is 1st. Gretzky's 3rd in assists. Gretzky's 1st with 104. Gretzky is 20 behind him. 18 behind him. Yeah, 18 behind him. I'm having trouble doing math. For 2nd. And then in points, Gretzky is also 2nd with 148, which is 32 behind Lemieux with 180. So Lemieux has obviously surpassed Gretzky. In shots, Gretzky's 2nd as well. Lemieux's 1st. Lemieux 2nd in plus-minus, tied with Ulf Dahlen of the Red Wings. Short-handed goals, Gretzky's nowhere to be found. He led this last year, but Gretzky's starting power play goals with 28, so he got over just under half of his goals on the power play. So obviously they're heavily playing him there. And then he's not anywhere to be found on any of the other major stats.
1 second.
In goalie leaders, we got John Van Breesbroek. Yeah, he seems to be dominating here for the Rangers. Made sense, they're the best team in the league. And Donna Kashik for the Canucks, which is probably why they're doing so well, is because they have him. And then Mike Richter on the Mighty Ducks made the most saves by less than 20. So it was pretty close.
Oh, you don't like all the stuff that they put in?
Yeah, he doesn't like pizza. Okay, so let's check the playoffs here and see if the Oilers made it. And they did. Looks like they made it kind of in a wild card role, and they will be facing the leader of their division, the Smythe division, Vancouver. Calgary is facing St. Louis. Dallas is taking on LA. And then Detroit's taking on Toronto. Montreal's taking on Buffalo. New Jersey's taking on Pittsburgh. Boston's taking on Washington. And Quebec is taking on New York. So I think New York will win this year. It would also be kind of cool if they did, just because New York, they won this year. And Vancouver was actually the team that they defeated. So let's see if history can repeat themselves there, or if Edmonton can steal another championship, or if a newcomer comes. Let's do it. Okay, guys, so some crazy stuff happened. So a bunch of the series went to Game 7. 4 of them included Edmonton, Vancouver. Edmonton was down 3-1, possibly 3-0, and came roaring back and beat Vancouver in 7, proving that cup experience is pretty important, even in video games. Calgary took out St. Louis in 5. Dallas swept LA, so Edmonton will be taking on Dallas in the second round. Toronto beat Detroit in 6, so Toronto will be taking on Calgary. Sabres took out Montreal in 7. New Jersey took out Pittsburgh in 7, a massive upset there. And Boston swept Washington, while the Rangers took out Quebec in 7. So New York and New Jersey will face each other in the second round. They faced each other in the conference final in the real 1994. Buffalo and Boston will meet up with the winner of New York and New Jersey. And the winner of Toronto and Calgary will meet up with either Dallas or Edmonton in the conference final. So let's see how these teams do. Okay, guys, so Edmonton just got it in their face, if you will. So after roaring back against Vancouver, Dallas did the exact same thing to them. Edmonton was up 3-1, and Dallas won in 7. Maple Leafs swept Calgary, meanwhile. Boston took out Buffalo in 5, and the Rangers took out the Devils in 7, just like they did in the conference final in the real 1994. So history is repeating itself. If I want a team to, if I have to cheer for a team, I hope that the Rangers take out Boston. I hope Toronto takes out Dallas, so that maybe even a Canadian team can win it. And I also like Toronto, so either Toronto or New York for me. So let's see how those teams do. Okay, guys, so I got some of what I wanted. The Bruins took out New York in 5. Toronto took out Dallas in 6. Boston is up 2-0 on Toronto right now. So they could win the cup. I'm hoping Toronto does, though, although it's cool to see that old rivalry being brought back to life. Alright, guys, and unfortunately, Boston took out Toronto in a sweep, and Boston has won the Stanley Cup for 1994. And we have, I think, one more year to go here for today's video. If we look at the All-Stars for this year, Nicklas Lidstrom is on the Canucks, surprisingly. That's pretty cool. No one on the Oilers made it, even Gretzky. So Jack Adams Award winner for the Rangers. Doug Carpenter made sense. New York finished best in the league and made it to the conference final. John Van Briesbroek won the Vezina. Norris Trophy went to Lidstrom. Paul Correa takes home the Calder, and he got 67 and 69. That's pretty good. Pat Quinn, the GM of the Canucks, got GM of the Year. Selke goes to Yzerman. Lemieux gets the Rocket Richard. Lemieux gets the Art Ross Trophy. Ulf Dowling gets a plus-minus. Dominic Hasek gets the high save percentage. John Van Briesbroek gets the Jennings. Steve Yzerman gets the Lady Bing. Gretzky gets the Bill Masterton. Ray Bork gets the Mark Messier Leadership Award. Lemieux gets the Ted Lindsay Award. Bork gets the Conn Smythe. And Lemieux wins the Hart Trophy. So Bork actually gets his championship on the Bruins in this series, which I forgot about, but is immediately kind of cool. So let's go last day here of the season. Okay, guys, so here are the historical notes for the final season of Part 2 of the series. So we got, for 1994-95, we got Chara coming in the league, 6'9", potential 5 stars. Dan Boyle, Shane Doan, Jean-Sebastien Giroux, Mika Kiprusoff, Damon Lankov, Jose Theodore, and Matthias Oland. So, again, that's pretty cool to see. Chara coming in. Teams are in for a shock, and I also wonder what team he goes to. There are no expansion Players for this this time, or there are no expansion teams this time, so there are no more teams to check out. I don't think there's another expansion team until Minnesota and Columbus come in 1999 or the year 2000. So let's go to opening night. Okay, so Ron Gretzky gets in the Hall of Fame. Reed Larson, Lanny McDonald, and Rosie Vachon. So that's pretty cool. Oh yeah, that's right. 1994 started late because of the lockout this year. So that's even cooler to do in a video game. So opening night won't start until January 20th. So players are going to get a longer rest break, which for the Oilers is important, obviously, because they're going to be tired. All right, so now we're just getting into the preseason. We'll be into the regular season here pretty soon. And here we are. So let's look at the Oilers. For this year, see if they have changed at all. So we got Gretzky still, Messier, Curry, Fuhr, who's not as good. He's only 2.5 stars now. And then Butch Burger, if that's how you pronounce it, Craig McTavish, Kevin Miller, Esa Tikkanen, and Glenn Anderson. So some players have definitely gone down here. So I don't know if I can see Oilers winning a championship. Like even Yari Curry is down to 3 stars. So it looks like the only true stars on this team now are Gretzky and Messier. So let's look at career stats here for Gretzky. He's got 2,622 points in his career so far in the NHL. He's got 148 and 169, 153 in this video. So let's go to the trade deadline. Okay, guys, so here we are at the trade deadline. Let's look at the standings. In division, Edmonton is a solid third, just 3 points back of Vancouver for second, and Calgary is still first. I marvel at how good they still are. Edmonton now has only their forward positions are strength, and weaknesses are goaltending and defense. So let's look at the league here. So Edmonton is 8th, Pittsburgh is 1st, New York is 2nd, Calgary is 3rd, Chicago seems to be emerging here, Boston and Vancouver, New Jersey, and then we got down to Edmonton. The Mighty Ducks are last, followed by Florida, San Jose, Ottawa, and Tampa Bay. So the expansion teams of the last few years, and then some contenders, Washington, Montreal, and St. Louis are down. So that's pretty cool. So let's go to the end of the year here, and then we can check out the rest of the stuff. Okay, guys, so here we are at the end of the year. Boston is 1st in the league. Vancouver is 2nd. New York is 3rd. Chicago is 4th. Pittsburgh went down to 5th. Calgary is now 7th. And then Edmonton is down to 14th, so slowly declining here. Ottawa ended up finishing dead last, with still an outlook of win now, despite having no strengths and all weaknesses. So it's odd how they do that. So we'll see if Edmonton made the playoffs in a sec here, but let's first check out the player stats, see how well Gretzky did. So in goals, Hall led this year, and if you notice here, Hall led in points as well with only 85, so that is the lowest point total we have had in this series so far. So we got Matt Sundin, who's on the Canucks, 4th. Gretzky is way down here in goals, tied for 11th with, no, he's actually just is 11th. Trevor Linden and Eric Lindros are right after him. In assists, Lemieux leads with 48. Gretzky is is 11th again there, and he's 7th in points with only 61. So 61 games in 42 points. That would be another reason is that the games were cut in half. I forgot about that. Lemieux leads in shots. Gretzky is way down here in shots with 193. Plus minus, Joe Nienwick of the Flames has the best plus minus. Shorthanded goals, Rod Brittamore. Power play goals goes to Pierre Turgeon. Penalty minutes goes to Marty Mcsorley. Shots blocked, and then face-off percentage. So Gretzky generally isn't in any of these major stats. And then in goalie leaders, I don't think we'll see any of the Grant Fuhr in here. He's way down in wins with 16. Save percentage, .896, or that's goals against average. That's save percentage. And then his goals against average, He cannot be found. So his goals against average is 3.13. So actually better stats, or slightly better stats than last year, except in the win column. So let's go see if Edmonton made the playoffs. And they did. They will be facing Chicago this year in the first round. Calgary's taking on Dallas. Detroit's taking on LA. Vancouver's taking on Toronto. New Jersey's taking on Buffalo. Pittsburgh's taking on Philly. So that's a nice rivalry there. New York's taking on Quebec, and then Hartford is facing Boston. So Hartford, I think, is the 16th seed, if I quickly check here. No, they're the 15th, and Montreal's 16th. So let's go into the playoffs here and see if Edmonton can make it out. Okay, so here we go, guys. We got the playoffs. Unfortunately, Edmonton lost in 5 games to Chicago. Vancouver took out Toronto in 6. Buffalo took out New Jersey in 7. Flyers took out Pittsburgh in 7. New York took out Quebec in 5. And Boston swept Hartford. Calgary took out Dallas in 7. And Detroit took out LA in 7. So Philly's taking on Boston. New York's taking on Buffalo. Detroit's taking on Vancouver. And Chicago's taking on Calgary. So let's just go quickly here. Okay, guys, so here we are at the end of the second round. Calgary swept Chicago. Detroit took out Vancouver in 5. New York swept Buffalo, and Boston swept Philly. So New York is taking on Boston, winning 1-0. Calgary's taking on Detroit, winning 1-0. So I'm hoping Detroit and New York face each other in the finals, and New York wins. So let's see if that ends up happening. Okay, guys, so unfortunately I simmed a bit too far. So New York ended up winning the Stanley Cup here over Detroit. So they get their first championship in 1995, a year after they won it in real life. And then if we go to the historical notes for this year, we got Nicklas Backstrom, Jerome McGinley, and Danny Briere joining the NHL. And we got Quebec relocating to Colorado. And then also Washington changes their logo. And so, yeah, that's about it. So Dominik Hasek won the Vezina Trophy for Vancouver. Norris went to Nicklas Lidstrom. The collar goes to Rob Valasevic. Don Lombardi takes home the GM of the year. Selke goes to Dallas Drake. Maurice Rock-Richard goes to Brett Hall. Brett Hall wins the Art Ross. Joe Ninwig gets the plus-minus. Saving Grace, save percentage award goes to Richard Schulmistra. Frank Petrangelo gets the Jennings. Lady Bean goes to Jimmy Carson. Ulf Samuelsson gets the Bill Masterton. Mark Messier award goes to Peter Stastny. Marilyn Mew gets the Ted Lindsay. Brian Sutter gets the Jack Adams award. The All-Stars for this year, no one on Edmonton with the exception of Mark Messier made it. And Conn Smythe goes to Rob Blake. Hart Trophy goes to Mario Lemieux. So let's look here quickly at Edmonton and see their roster is now. So we got Gretzky, Messier, Curry, Butchberger, Miller, Fier, Tikkanen. So yeah, this team is not all that good anymore. So Gretzky got 61 points in 42 games. This was the last year, so since this is the last year here of this video, we will be looking at the career stats, and then I will call it. So right now he has got 2,683 points in 1,204 games. He got 61 points in 42 games this past year, and his contract doesn't expire until 1999, the year where he retires in real life. So let's see if he remains an Oiler. Let's see if the Oilers can somehow win any more cups, if they'll make trades. He's 34 now. He was 30 when we started, so it's been 4 years. Their strength is center, and weaknesses are goalie, left D, and right D. So let's see if they'll even make the playoffs next year. So many questions. Unfortunately, I will have to call it a video, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.